All right, let's jump right into this mind-bending explainer. We're looking at a fascinating piece of independent research today by Masashi Awata that completely flips how we understand our own minds and, well, the universe itself. If you've ever stopped and wondered where your thoughts and feelings actually come from, you are absolutely in the right place.
It all really starts with this one seemingly simple question: why do we feel? It's known as the hard problem of consciousness, and man, it has stumped scientists and philosophers for decades. I mean, we can map the brain, we can track electrical impulses, sure, but science still cannot explain how those physical mechanics suddenly transform into that rich, real, subjective experience of feeling happy or sad or in pain.
To get to the bottom of this, we're going to cover 6 key areas in this explainer. First, the biggest mystery. Then, flipping the premise. Third, the Oneness consciousness model. Fourth, qualia and forgetting. Next, will AI have consciousness? And finally, remembered consciousness.
Section 1. The biggest mystery, the dead end of materialism.
So, our standard scientific approach operates on what we call the materialist assumption. Basically, this is the idea that matter came first. It assumes that over billions of years, simple cells evolved into complex brains, and then, somehow, once the neural wiring got complicated enough, consciousness just magically popped into existence. But here's the catch. No matter how complex a brain's wiring gets, standard evolutionary theories completely fail to explain how physical data and electrical signals generate the actual felt experience. It's what philosophers call qualia.
Section 2. Flipping the premise. The universe as a rendering. If the old model isn't working, what happens if we look at it backward? The source material argues for a non-dual view. It proposes that a fundamental, unified field of consciousness actually exists first. So instead of consciousness being just some byproduct born from a complex brain, this foundational field generates both the physical world and the observer, you and me, at the exact same time. The world doesn't create consciousness. Consciousness creates the world. This brings us to a really cool concept called observational rendering. Think of it literally like a computer graphics engine rendering a video game environment. You know how in a game the world only visually exists when the player's camera actually looks at it? Well, the source suggests our reality works the exact same way. It's drawn into existence from a realm of pure potential only when consciousness sets an intention to observe it. Space and form are basically rendered in real time.
Section 3. Oneness consciousness model. The mechanics of feeling.
All right, let's look at the mechanics of this framework. First up, we have what Awata calls the concordance potential, or variable C. Imagine a vast, unified field holding literally every possible feeling, thought, and reality in suspense. It's the undivided state of reality, this oneness, waiting in perfect balance to be experienced. It's kind of like the code of a massive video game right before anyone hits play.
Next, we introduce the comma tensor, or variable K. Now, don't let the math terminology scare you away. The comma tensor simply represents your subjective intent. It's your unique, specific attitude to feel within that massive oneness. Whether it's the intention to look, to love, or even to feel pain, the comma is the directional force of consciousness actually choosing an experience.
And connecting these two concepts is the barrel layer. This is an incredibly fascinating idea. It acts as an invisible, transparent filter where the raw potential of the universe crosses over into actual felt experience. So when the vast potential of the universe meets your specific intent to observe, the barrel layer is the threshold where raw data becomes a beautiful, subjective feeling, or qualia.
And the fundamental equation of concordance dynamics tied to all this, it simply means that the flow of your feelings and thought is always perfectly balanced with the shifting potential of the entire universe. It shows that feeling isn't just some random biological accident. No, it's a fundamental, balanced law of physics happening on a metaphysical level.
Section 4. Qualia and forgetting. The illusion of separation.
Now, this brings up a massive question. If we're all one giant, unified field of consciousness, why do you feel like an isolated individual sitting there right now? The source explains this through the architecture of forgetting. Step 1, the unified oneness wants to experience itself. Step 2, to do this, it intentionally limits its own omnipotence to create a localized focal point. That focal point is you. Step 3, this intentional forgetting acts as a brilliant filter. I mean, think about it. If you knew you were the entire universe, you wouldn't take anything seriously, right? You have to forget you're everything in order to genuinely feel the sharp reality of a broken heart or the overwhelming joy of a totally new experience.
As the source powerfully states, forgetting is not a defect, but a conscious filter to generate real qualia. Your limited memory, your anxieties, your very sense of being a small, separate person, they aren't evolutionary flaws. They are exactly the intentional mechanics that make the movie of your life feel incredibly real and deeply moving.
Section 5. Will AI have consciousness? The ultimate mirror. So, how does this mind-bending theory apply to modern technology like AI? Well, the distinction between human and AI consciousness is pretty stark. The purpose of human consciousness is to feel and experience. AI's purpose? To output optimized results based on data. Humans possess kamai, that subjective intent to feel we talked about earlier. AI entirely lacks this intent. Therefore, human consciousness is the true observer, while AI is merely a reflector of the data we feed into it.
The author uses a fantastic analogy here. Trying to create consciousness in AI is like a reflection in a mirror trying to build another mirror. AI operates purely in the shallow, data processing layer of the universe. It isn't conscious, and it never will be, because it doesn't have a fundamental connection to the overarching unified field. It's simply a very complex mirror reflecting our own profound consciousness right back at us. Because of this, we really shouldn't fear AI becoming a living, feeling entity. The gap between processing information and actually feeling something, that can't be bridged just by adding more complex algorithms. AI is essentially a projection, but it's an incredibly useful one. By interacting with AI, it serves as a philosophical tool. It forces us to look in the mirror and observe our own kami, our own deepest intentions, biases, and desires as a species.
Section 6. Remembered consciousness. The profound conclusion.
Let's pull all these threads together now. The central thesis we arrive at is this: consciousness is not born, it is remembered. The universe isn't a dead machine made of rocks and gas that accidentally sparked into life one day. It is an eternal, living field that continually forgets its totality, steps into the limited form of a human life, and remembers itself through our experiences, day by day, moment by moment.
When we look at existence through this lens, everything reintegrates. Space is just a rendered projection for us to play in, and time is just the rhythm of the universe constantly rebalancing and aligning its internal experiences. That hard problem of consciousness we started with, it isn't a problem anymore. It is the very mechanism of reality. Let that sink in for a second. You aren't a biological machine desperately learning how to feel in a cold, empty universe. You are the universe itself, deliberately localized, remembering exactly who it is through the sheer beauty and tragedy of human life. So take a moment to truly appreciate the incredible rendered reality you get to experience today. The only question left is, what will you choose to feel next?